that's when it works best, when it is a brand that you are devoted to anyway, that you've always liked and you're loyal to, and then they jump on board with you. And I think that's what happened with you, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just make videos about stuff you like Jen does, both software she loves working with and this kind of stuff, or she loves using. And if it's good enough and if they see it, they should start work with you. And they, like, realistically, it should happen fast enough, because I think I made that TikTok maybe 3 months ago about audio.com, and in that time I've been talking to them about different projects.
My name is Sian Horn. I am the founder of Elite Pilates, the Club Women's Network, a national network for women that work for themselves. I also create content.
My name is Judie Russell. I teach people how to make videos through the Vid Academy, and sometimes I make videos.
My name is Jen, and I am the co-founder of a digital marketing agency called Velocity Growth.
My name is Jay Woodard. I am the founder and creative director of Ad32. We create content for SMEs, corporates, all different kind of products, food, fashion, all that kind of stuff. So it's between photo and video.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Unbranded. Firstly, I have to say, did you miss me?
We missed you.
Yay!
100%.
Well, you know, sometimes you just got to teach people to make, no, joking, but I missed you guys. It wasn't the same not recording last week, but look, that's the dream about doing with 4 people, isn't it? That, you know, if you need to, then it's fine if one needs to drop off, and we're getting used to that now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's only in the last 2 weeks that schedules actually kind of got mixed up. Other than that, we've been flying, haven't we?
Yeah. We have been really fortunate. But listen, today I'm back and I'm talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is UGC. So user-generated content, for those that don't know much about it. It's when you get your platform taken over potentially, or content is created by people that are not part of your team, I suppose, but loyal supporters of your brand. I love UGC. I think it's a really good conversation. I actually recently did a lovely panel, emceed a panel talking all about this. So I can't wait to see what you guys think. And I'm going to start with what wrecks your head or what pisses you off about it. I'll start with Jen.
Start with the ranter. UGC is fantastic. However, it's very hard to get your hands on authentically. So authentic UGC is actually very difficult to come across. We pay for all of our UGC for most of our clients. We use a tool called Billo. I don't know if you've heard of it. You go to Billo, and I actually did this just as recently as last week. So you go to Billo, you put in the link to the website, you put in the product details, you tell them what you're going to ship them. Then creators ship you a proposal. Within 24 hours, we had 94 proposals for 5 slots. And then I went through the buyer persona sheet that I had, and it was a little bit bizarre because I was judging these people on how they looked, if they had kids, like fitting the persona perfectly, telling them exactly what to say, and essentially hiring actors for it. So there's lots of ways to get it authentically, but I would say, even though I love the fact that I can just get my hands on it quick because I need it for advertising, I don't love sometimes you can feel the authenticity slip a little there as well.
Okay. Mike, a quick question for you. You said that you put it into Billo, then they send you a proposal, then you go through the persona sheet. Why wouldn't you have put the persona that you were looking for in the original?
I do, but the applicants can say anyway, like, oh, I still think I'd be a good fit because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Interesting. What about you, Jude? What do you think of UGC? Does it wreck your head in any way, shape or form?
Just a quick one there for Jen as well, though. How do you find that the UGC performs on advertising? Is it a good one?
Unbelievable.
Is it?
Yeah. Your top rated content is going to be UGC. Testimonial social proof, especially if someone has recorded content, which is kind of UGC in a way. It's still social proof category at the end of the day. Before and after, especially in e-commerce, I'm kind of talking about now. Before and after, UGC is king in e-commerce, to be totally frank with you. There's no, if someone comes to me with a set of product images, I'm like, best of luck.
Okay, interesting. So, like, I suppose I've never cracked the user generated content code. I remember trying it on a campaign a while back, but like all organically. So like, you know, you put into Facebook or whatever, please send in your videos about how much you enjoyed the event or whatever. And then you get like one video back and it's like in the wrong format. It's in landscape mode.
Well, we've got a 2-part process going out for that particular company at the moment. One is inviting like their actual customers to ship in a video, and they will get a month's supply of this product, and be in a competition to win a bigger prize. So like even by shipping it in and getting we're gonna have this process where you ship it in, and the followers, they've got like 75,000 followers, so it's really easy for us to like roll that content out and be like, vote for your favorite, and then, you know, we're kind of incentivizing people that way, but that can only be done with a large audience. There's no slicing and dicing being able to do that with a few thousand followers.
I think that's it. I think that's where it's always gone wrong. Like, I love the idea of it. I've just never managed to get it to go successfully, and I've never had budget for it, and I've never tried to do it on a channel that has a lot of followers. So yeah, I feel like I don't have great input, unfortunately. So I'm here to learn.
Amazing. Jay, what do you think?
I agree with Jane. Authenticity is very important. You see it a lot. Like, you can see right through it. Like, if it's not real, you'll see right through it. And a lot of influencers, I think, are taking on stuff they shouldn't be. Doesn't fit their brand, doesn't fit their persona, as Jen was saying. But also, there's a massive trend lately of setting up UGC agencies by young people. I don't know if you've seen this. Every second person I'm seeing is like the new UGC agency. It's like, the fuck's that even mean? Just like, do you know what I mean? Just
Billo, it's crossed my mind after looking at Billo, because I can only use Billo for my US clients. They don't take products from Ireland.
Yeah. But then, like, I know, but just, I know there's one, I think that there's like 3 or 4 in Cork already, and it's all run by people under 35, like. So,
and what are they doing, Jay?
It's a new wave.
They're organizing the UGC for you.
Yeah,
right.
Basically, yeah. So they'll have creators in the list. The product will come to them. Say this fucking perfume. They'll find the right people and then ship it off and then get a cut of that, whatever it is. I'm guessing they handle all the payments and take a cut. But like, it's a middleman scenario. You know, basically, it's a middleman. It's like the Billo thing. Brokers. Exactly.
Funny
but
enough,
I just think.
Actually, and if Nessa and Roisin are listening to this, I tried to set up a business like this 6 years ago, and with 2 fabulous girls, and they thought it was risky, and so at the last, like, they said, oh, I don't think it's for us, it's going to take a lot of work, and I'm like, it is not risky. I've always used UGC, and actually my what pisses me off about UGC is that it's even called UGC, and it's apparently a new thing. Like, anybody that's marketed their business properly has been using it since social media started it. You know, because that's the authentic way to get, because UGC is just a topping of your testimonial and your loyal customer if you use it very well. And for me, you know, we speak about this all the time. You can't train someone to be authentic. You know, authenticity is because it's natural, normal, and organic. So I think you do see a slight note, you know, you do notice the paid against the organic. However, like, I've used it differently, and I do think that both work very, very well. But it is being able to say no, isn't it, Jay? Like, you can't work with people that you're not authentically loyal to.
Yeah, you have to do your due diligence and look into their profile and see what they're doing, and like, it has to, like, pure, like a makeup artist doing one for something like hiking. It doesn't make sense. This kind of stuff, like, okay, it might be their interest and stuff, but like, just the one that comes to mind every time, and I think is the best piece of UGC content there has been, result-wise, I think, was recently that Stanley Cup that was in that Jeep. Do you remember that one? Yeah. So this girl had the Stanley Cup. She had ice in a drink. The car actually caught on fire, burnt down completely. The cup was unharmed, and they opened it, and the ice was still in the Stanley Cup, fine. Like, I think they sold out worldwide for weeks and weeks after this. Like, or the other great UGC one that comes to mind is just on the precipice of COVID, when everyone had locked down, we saw this class. I think he was like Mexican guy on a skateboard drinking cranberry juice. Remember Ocean Spray?
Yeah,
he was just vibing, going down. He was listening to Fleetwood Mac. Mick Fleetwood got involved. And they sold out worldwide for months during COVID. Like, it just shows you the power of it as well. But they were authentic. He was skateboarding. He was happy. He was having some cranberry juice. She was going to work with her Stanley Cup, and shit happened. Like, that's all authenticity, and that's real.
Do you know what's interesting there, though, is that I put the two of those in the category of guerrilla marketing.
I would put those in there as well. However, like
it's blended for sure, but that maybe it's actually what I was going to say is that, Jay, I think a good point there is that if you're getting UGC content, try to layer it with these guerrilla marketing tactics, because it makes a massive difference there to the performance.
There was authentically 100% real. Now, maybe it wasn't labeled or meant to be UGC, but it was users generating content. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to it, like what he was doing on his skateboard had nothing to do with what he was drinking. Her car burning down, she didn't put the Stanley Cup in there to burn it. Do you know what I mean? So
I think 100%,
yeah, but afterwards they're like, oh, this has worked. But like, I recently actually haven't. So in my Pilates studio, we've always used UGC. So we always ask people to come in and try it out, but just tell people how they felt before they went in and how they feel when they leave. And it's always worked very well for us. It's exactly the same as a testimonial. But people don't think of it as creating, because they're literally just talking for a couple of seconds before and after. And recently we tried something different where we put all of the information together in the video, and it did not perform as well, because then it became like a story. It looked too clean and tidy. And it didn't have the same effect. So for me, and although both were authentic, both were by people that had genuinely tried, we just tried a different format. It just didn't work so well. It was too clean.
It became a review.
Yes.
Potentially the length of time on that as well, because we find the best performing UGCs between 16 and 24 seconds consistently in the ads. So if you were a little bit longer than that, it could have tapered off as well.
No, absolutely. So when it comes to, we talked about sort of lots of UGC places popping up, like as a business, or as a marketeer that you all are, how do you think, would you go through these platforms? I know where you mentioned Billo, but like there are agents out there that are actually recruiting for this kind of content. What do we think? Jude, would you try it?
Absolutely. Like, I suppose like casting is its own kind of massive industry within the film and TV industry. And like, I suppose that is as much required in the social media kind of realm. So I think it would just save an awful lot of time. Like, my instinct is to go, okay, I need user generated content. Let me go and find the people and stuff like that. But there's already people who have tried and tested and learned the hard way. So I probably think that there's a lot of value in actually paying someone to go and find the people for you. Yeah.
With those words, used and tested and no more, Jay, what do you think?
It all depends on the product. It all depends what you're selling. Like, would I use it personally? Probably not, because I don't need to for my business right now. If I opened up another food place or anything like that, yeah, definitely I consider it. Like companies have approached us and all of us to do product reviews and paid us and this kind of whatever it is and stuff. Is that UGC? Realistically, it's probably not, because it's kind of a paid partnership more than UGC, isn't it?
But there's the question then: should you be paying for UGC?
Well, if you approach them, definitely, yeah. If they love the product, class. And then, so like pure example, like I did that thing with audio.com, like they're not paying me for the video, they're paying me for the rights to do an advert with my video. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of the idea. And I think that's because that's what UGC really is you're promoting your business through it. Like, and these people have to get paid. Like,
yeah, like not only 1 in every 7 of my videos, give or take, is a actual paid sponsorship where someone has reached out to me to sponsor their product. But I regularly get outreach from the tools that I actually like and actually create content around, from the marketing team, to ask could they license that content for the adverts.
It was interesting recently. I was speaking to Dev Skian, who is a fantastic creator. And she was saying, about creating UGC for brands, and that she has different price, faceless pricing and face-on pricing. And I found that really interesting. It was something that I hadn't personally thought of before, but really important, because when her face is in something, the value is increased.
That's almost like the popcorn thing again, though. It's like, well, obviously I thought your face was going to be in it, and you just see the layered pricing. You just go for the higher one then.
Well, no, they don't. I mean, if you look at her,
Or
her
do
con-
do
yeah,
they
no,
often ask for, or like go with the pricing without her face?
yeah,
Interesting. I
and
wonder if
that's
she
why
had
she's
a third.
yeah, that's why she's had to she set up a separate company to create, just to create, because there was a confusion. Everybody a lot of people wanted her
Yeah.
face, and then she was like, I can still create the content, but it will be faceless. But we still talk about it. She's very clever. She's done it a very clever way, I think.
Yeah.
And it shows she's using her voice, but it's faceless, but it's her voice. And then and the next
I
tier
don't
then
think
is
she's even using her voice.
wow.
Do you know what's really interesting is that UGC content that is voiceless is the highest performing by a mile, because not everyone speaks English.
Surely that depends on where, the
No.
company though.
No, not really. When we roll out UGC content that is very visual, like visual first, not like explaining anything, that you can just, anyone can tell by what the person is doing, what it is. So it doesn't matter what language you speak. Well, again, this is probably because it's performing particularly in the States, where you'll have Spanish, you'll have English, you'll have such a volume of languages. But that's kind of the case across the globe at the moment. Even in Ireland, if you rolled out UGC, I don't even know what percentage of the audience wouldn't be English first, at least. But even if English is your second language, it can be difficult to consume content.
Yeah. But I think this is important to remember as well. So like, obviously in Elite, my business, my bricks and mortar business is a local business. So actually how things perform, I have to be really careful. I don't really want them to perform massively, because actually that's not going to create any business for me. I need them to perform very localized, it really is. Whereas my normal platform, perform away. Do you know what I mean? Because that's good. But I think as well, when we talk about payment, we've spoken often on here, so I did a lot of UGC free of charge for Tesco's before I ever started working for Tesco's, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, people forget that. And I think that's when it works best, when it is a brand that you are devoted to anyway, that you've always liked and you're loyal to, and then they jump on board with you. And I think that's what happened with you, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like we've said, just make videos about stuff you like Jen does, both software she loves working with and this kind of stuff, or she loves using. And if it's good enough and if they see it, they should start work with you. And they, like, realistically, it should happen fast enough, because I think I made that TikTok maybe 3 months ago about audio.com. And in that time, I've been talking to them about different projects, and like, I've been paid enough for this one, and there'll be ones in the pipeline as well coming up and stuff. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, no, I like it. So how do you get involved in all of this? So have you something to teach us, Jen?
I am going to go back to the actual creation of a UGC agency and go from that angle. Double-sided marketplaces are a bitch. Stay away from them. We work with so many startups come through our doors, especially when the fundraising was like just going crazy in 2021. And it got to a point where we were like, we are actively declining double-sided marketplaces. So you're always only going to have like 4 different types of businesses. You're going to have a service business, you're going to have a product business, or like a transactional e-commerce business. You're going to be B2B kind of lead gen, kind of SaaS kind of focused, subscription-based business, or you're going to be a double-sided marketplace. Those are the 4 types of businesses. Double-sided marketplace will break your heart, because you're always playing this balancing act. You're either advertising for your supply. You don't want to be advertising for your supply and your demand, essentially.
When you're saying double-sided, sorry, just break this down for me. So you're advertising B2B and B2C, or you're a wholesaler and a direct sale?
Yeah, so it's when you're the middleman, it's very, very difficult to scale that business, because you always have to look after your supply and your demand. If your product, you've got a warehouse, or you've got a manufacturing company over here, and they have resolved the supply for you. They are shipping that product to you, and now you're seeking demand, or you're creating demand, or demand is already in the market and you're pushing that product to it. Whereas with a double-sided marketplace like a UGC agency, where you have to find the creator and you have to find the buyer for the creator, you have to find both sides of the market for yourself, and it gets extraordinarily expensive. It seems really lovely until you get to 6 figures, and then it's going from 6, like if you actually want to scale a big business, it's so difficult. And I see this across the board. like Uber and Airbnb are fantastic examples of double-sided marketplaces done well. And that's why people always...
Uber's only turned a profit recently, hasn't it?
Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah, in the last 3 years or something, not even 2 years.
And Airbnb struggled for a long time in it as well, but they were like, I think they were as far as like Series D and E raised. I mean, like a Series C company, you expect them to have raised about 300 million. So I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions against it. Now, the other thing about Uber not drawing a profit is capital tax in the US is 51%. So it's in their best interest to constantly rack up loans against it and not turn a profit for a significant period of time as well.
Yeah.
But double-sided marketplaces, I get requests. I'm like, no, I'm not touching the ads for it. I'm not. Supply and demand.
She's getting angry as we speak. You can see it in her eyes.
Oh
she's
my
God!
If it's wild, and I'm talking industry wide. I've seen people come up with fantastic ideas for double-sided marketplaces because they seem like such a good idea. But when you have to control your own supply and demand and generate it via, marketing or product-led growth or whatever the case might be, extraordinarily difficult to handle the market.
Okay,
that's my rant.
I'd say I don't really need to worry about that. not in the close future. Judie.
Well, like, do you know what's interesting is that, like, when I'm doing my video training, so like what I do is I teach people video production skills, and I'm only starting to learn about advertising and paid advertising. Previously, everything was organic. I had an hour session with Jen there last week on Meta, and holy God, did she clear up so much for me. And at the end of the call, I was like, I finally not understand that that's reaching, but I have an idea now what you do, because for the first 3 months of the podcast, I was like, I have no idea what Jen actually does. Like, I know she's super smart and I know she does lots of things, but I don't really know what it is. Now that I'm behind the scenes in Meta, I'm like, okay, this is a lot to manage. And then imagining multiple companies and multiple campaigns and stuff like that, like my mind is blown from it. But when I'm teaching people how to make videos, I start off with a montage to music, and I'm like, they're simple and they take the least amount of time. Then a montage with text. We'll start adding text, and then voiceover, and then speaking to camera. So throughout the day of the kind of workshop, they go from starting with a montage to music to ending up speaking to camera. And like my whole thing was like, always speak to camera where you can. Like, that's where I'm trying to get you to, because in my mind, without any kind of data, that was the stuff that I thought performed the best. But you're kind of turning this on its head, Jen, with the data, saying that montages to music can perform better, I suppose, as Sian, as you were saying, depending on your audience, like you're saying an international audience kind of thing. But like, with that in mind, and again, back to you, Jen, like what are you telling your videographers to deliver to you? A mix of it so you can test it based on the audience they're going for? Or how do you kind of organize that?
Yeah, a mix. So I'll have like different key points. So that I'll just use e-commerce as the example, because like, say it's product. Actually, a good example, I'm working with a hair care product at the moment, and we know that it works well for diversity of different hair types and different ethnicity in terms of hair. And we also know that we don't actually know specifically what age category it'll do well with yet. So we will look at the age categories, we will look at the different types of hair, then we will look at the core problems for each of those types of hair and say, okay, well, for this video, we'll hit on this pain. It's pain point first hooks. And like, we don't know which pain point will resonate the most, and we'll work our way backwards from there.
Yeah, I'm just blown away by this whole retrospectively making videos based on the data you have. It's just like, it's a whole different route. And I think it's just going to really improve.
It'd be interesting on the political campaign, if it was like, okay, what's the key pain points of people in the area? And then starting with the people in the area, hitting on each of those pain points and why they're looking to X person to resolve
Judie's
those.
like, what the hell? Yes.
I'm like, okay, that's my week sorted. Okay, that's the approach I'm going to take. But that when you say it, you're like, yeah, obviously. But like, it's not obvious at all until someone says it to you. And then you're like, now I get it. Like, that was...
Because everyone jumps into this kind of marketing. Let me just... Oh, I only have hand sanitizer in front of me. But...
Yeah.
Yeah. YouTube, yeah. The YouTube thumbnail marketing.
Just
I
about to-
realized that we're on a podcast now. All I did was just hold it up and smile.
well, they should
It
be
was
on
really good,
YouTube.
though.
It's funny actually, Jude, because actually talking about the politics side, obviously they use traditional advertising as well. And someone, obviously people are knocking on your doors at the moment. And someone knocked on my door yesterday. Seemed like a very nice person. And then I read the information when I left. And obviously I live in an estate which has a lot of young families. And obviously everything in the information was directed at people with families. So he seemed very nice and whatever. But as soon as I read the piece of paper that he left me, we had nothing in common.
Wow. So then that crosses him out now when you get to the ballot. Like, you're just like, no.
What he's fighting for it's not relevant to me.
And you know
Unreal.
what? Like these, I genuinely don't understand why they don't do this, but they should have the flyers like this in their hand. Yeah. Right. They should be split in three. There should be two markers in here. And you ask at the door, what is the biggest thing worrying you at the moment? All right, that's perfect. Here, take my leaflet.
Yeah.
It's split.
And there should be one specific for the fuck off one as well.
Yeah.
And that one should be, you should really, if you don't have your say, you're not going to get. Sorry, I'm going down a whole rant here.
Yeah. No, but it was really, I was really interested. But they had presumed an awful lot in that 2 seconds that they met me, and their presumption was completely wrong. But yeah, they lost me straight away. But it's really interesting. I found that really interesting.
I find the whole thing fascinating. Like, my brain is in overdrive, but I think the posters are being phased out. Like, I think that like the amount of comments we're getting in, especially on the ads that we create, going like, it's nothing to do with posters, but the comments are, posters are too low. Get rid of the posters. Why am I seeing posters everywhere? I think with the sustainability initiative and the posters are kind of contradictory. So the lean into digital is we're going to see that more and more as time goes by.
There is definitely less, though. There is definitely less. I've noticed that. There is 100% less. However, also they could do with new pictures, because I'm seeing the same people for 15 years. They don't look like that when I see them at the shopping centre.
It's funny because I was driving from Gougane to Clonakilty yesterday, and there are some sharp corners along there. To the point, they have the big, long, curved yellow and black pointy arrows. The warning sign for a sharp corner. And this one fucker, the whole way along, I don't know who it is, I can't even remember his name, had his posters on them.
Wow.
And I was like, of all the places to put your poster, please don't put it on like a road safety sign.
It's a really dangerous road safety sign.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Jay, anything to teach us about UGC?
Two things really, I would say. Three things. Make the content as best possible. Have the best gear if you can. Like, obviously, the better your quality, the better it is, will be for everyone. Sound is more important than video in this aspect, I think, anyway. Obviously, if there's no sound or if they don't want voice, whatever it is, yes, go with that. Two, take it professionally, don't take it personally. A lot of people, when they attach themselves to video, like putting themselves out in video, and someone critiques it, they take it very personally. They're not critiquing you as a person, they're critiquing the work that you've done. So you need to take it professionally and to act professional in this scenario, because that's how you get rehired. It's huge. Do you know what I mean? That's so important. And I've forgotten the third thing. I have it. Protect yourself. This is your face. Like, protect yourself massively, because you're putting yourself out there, your brand, your personal brand. And if someone buys something, I saw you, Jen, advertise this thing. I went off and bought it. It burnt my skin because it's terrible. It's really badly made. I don't blame this. I blame you, because I bought it from you. In my head, do you know what I mean? A lot of people think like that, and people tie themselves to that kind of stuff. So if you're tying your personal brand or your face to a product, make sure it is good, and make sure they care about the customers and it's a good company kind of stuff, Don't just take the paycheck.
I even get that for like, I get angry DMs from people being like, the free tier wasn't good enough for me. And I'm like, I didn't make it. And thank your lucky stars that you even got a free tier.
Do you know what I mean?
Way.
Yeah.
Jay, when you were talking about being critiqued or not taking it personally, are you talking about when you create user-generated content for a company and they get back to you and say something? Or are you talking about the audience's reaction? Oh, right.
All of it. Take it professionally. Yeah. Don't take it personally. Right. This is like, you're creating content. Either you got the brief and you didn't understand it, they didn't make the brief clear enough and you kind of went with it, or you've made a great video but people are like Jen saying, people saying, oh, this is shit or this is this or whatever. Don't take it personally. Like, you have to just go, okay, it's not for that person, and it's just kind of keep rolling with it, because one of the most delicate things you can do genuinely for your freaking soul is put yourself on video and put it out to the public. Because people are we're so self-conscious as a creature of this world that we're like, oh geez, what will people think? And if people start berating you, like you two people survive, like, or like there's two options. You don't survive and you stop doing it, or you're like, nah, you harden. So ideally you harden and try and just every time you get something this professional, how would you react if this was a boss telling you this? You wouldn't go back to the boss going, fuck you, blah blah blah. You take it on board, you get critique, and you just learn that way, I think.
I agree. And I think actually from both sides, this is really important. So as a business, really know that what you want and what you're trying to achieve. Give the creators some creative, because otherwise, it doesn't look authentic. If you're like, we'd like you just to say this at this time, which is how it used to work a long time ago. It just looks too weird. But, always inviting, like, these aren't conversations. If I have a Zoom conversation with the company that I'm working with, I always record it. I always send them the notes from it, just so that there's no grey areas, because when you're creating, it can become quite grey. You are making decisions sometimes and you're not going back and forth. But yeah, so from a business perspective, I always have everything in writing and we sign off on it. And if halfway through the thing it's not working, we're having that discussion then and we stop it. And then from a creator's point of view is, again, I want it in writing because I don't want that greyness. I've spoken before, I did a campaign for a company that I really, truly adore, but they didn't give me enough creative. I needed to, like, it's clothes. I needed
creative
to pick
leeway.
The clothes. Yeah, I needed to have picked the clothes. And I was, I always send a report after every campaign. And I said, no, I really think this one didn't work so well because I wouldn't have picked that. And although the clothes are amazing, I know what suits me and what I would buy. And that's what I'm always showing to people, because that's the authentic way to do it. And actually, I haven't heard back from them, which was a bit sad, because I really do love this company. I'd love to work with them again. It didn't work as I wanted it to work, but there's blame on both sides, I suppose. I should have said, look, that's not going to work. But I was just, we learn. And when we talk about what works the best, it is always authenticity. I mean, I was listening to Stephen Bartlett. I'm back in, Jude. I'm back in. I was listening to him the other week, and he was saying, hashtag. And he was saying the best post he'd had recently that just went through the roof is him with his head in the hand saying he was knackered, like, because it resonated with people, and it was him talking the truth. And actually, this last week, I went to a live podcast of the Entrepreneur Experiment, and I was listening to Peter Coppinger of Teamwork.
Yeah.
Fantastic guy, like, really interesting.
I've heard him speak,
and talking really about, amazing. Him talking about authenticity. I think the one thing I teach, and we were talking about before we came on, was sometimes, you want to do some authentic UGC or get information out there. And to cut a long story short, I'm organised, and a conversation was had, a cup of tea conversation. We said, wouldn't it be great to do this like campaign for inclusive and diversity around movement, because I do believe as a size 20 plus instructor, it doesn't matter what shape, size, colour, whatever you are, you find movement that you love. So a conversation started. I'm kind of organising it now. And just before, Jay was like, how's it going? I said, it's a bit of a nightmare because it's a lot of people to organise. And Jay said, well, you said these free things are always a pain in the arse. And I said, do you know what, actually, let's talk about this on here, because this shouldn't be a pain in the arse. And the reason it shouldn't be is everybody that's involved in it gets paid around the same for a day's work. So there's nobody gaining or not gaining from this experience. We're all giving our time for free. We're all of around the same level of what our income is, probably apart from one who's amazing. But we're all giving our time for free to each other. But it's kind of a win-win for everybody, because we're all investing the same much. If somebody was coming that earned £20 an hour and another person was earning £1,500 an hour, then it would be painful for someone. There'd be a pain point there for the person that's on that. But everybody there actually is around the same scale. So it should be easier at that point.
Do you not find, though, in these kind of scenarios, yes, people are giving their time for free, but someone always comes out on top with more? Be it that it's a brand involved or it's someone else that it helps someone more than the. And I'm not knocking anything. Like, I've done them before, I'll do them again. I always feel that when I've done stuff, there has been some instances in the past where, let's say we got a clothing brand involved. Like, the clothing brand got the best of it because they got posts and they got tags and they got all this kind of stuff. So you have to be I think you have to be very careful with this kind of stuff. You have to see who gets the final. Yeah.
Yeah, we have obviously. We asked Lululemon to get involved. Now, let's be honest, Lululemon aren't going to benefit anything from us. They're an international. If I went to a local boutique, then I would say you'd be right because they would be benefiting from that contact. Lululemon probably won't even use our content. The only person that's benefited is people that didn't have any kit, and they very kindly gave them all kit.
But they'll also be tagged and mentioned and images out there. If like, it's just, again, it'd be UGC for Lululemon.
It depends on the.
Do you know what I mean?
The site, like Lululemon would probably classify that as CSR.
And we're not even been asked to tag them or anything. They just said, "Oh, look, let us give you some clothes." Do you know what I mean? We haven't been like Lululemon themselves don't even know what we're doing. It's on a local level, and they were like, "Oh, look, you know, if you're 3 of you are wearing it already, let's give everybody it and, you know, have a nice day." But they haven't asked us to tag them in anything. In fact, or to show that. And I don't know if you know Lulu very well, but you can't see the branding on Lulu unless you really specifically go in. A lot of
I'm wearing a pair right now.
Huh?
I'm wearing a pair right now.
Are you? Shit, you should have got involved. You could have got a free kit. Yeah, and I didn't even know they were going to do that. I just told them who was going to be involved. And then they went in, and the next thing they were all kitted out, and I was like, "That's so lovely." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree with you, Jane. I think that's when it's really important when you do something like this and create some UGC or something, then it has to be a win-win for everybody. So I was very conscious of who I invited, so that we were all on an even scale. Does that make sense? So no one feels like anybody else will benefit.
Yeah. Joe, the one thing that we didn't touch on here, which is, I'll just note it, is that UGC can go badly just as much as it can go. You can go out, you can pay for it, you can tell people what to say, you can get the influencers, you can reach out to people and tell them to post videos about all the positives of your business. But there's plenty of instances where people have come out and been like, "This is why you should not buy this," and gone on a rant because of a bad experience. That is also user-generated content. And it is also just as valid and wide-reaching as positive UGC.
Yeah. In fact, I was going to just hit on that because I've got my notes here. What about UGC de-influencing? Because that has become a thing now. And I think people need to be aware of it. They both work very well. I quite like a bit of de-influencing because I've tried projects from de-influencing. Because I'm like, no, I've heard really good things about that as well. Maybe it's just her skin type, or maybe it's this, that, whatever. So yeah, it is interesting. But I think the more you can get people to talk about your offering, the better you are.
I think with the de-influencing, you can strategically touch on the pain points the opposite way around. Where it's like, "Oh, I got it because I had this problem, but it really only works for this problem."
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see those videos where you're watching them, and like, there was a girl yesterday, and she was like, "I used to work in Shein and they fired me, so here are the things that you need to know." And then it was like, you can get a €700 gift card, and I was like, "This is an ad," but she got me, which was really good. But this is what I want to ask you, because this is something that I'm faced with now at the moment. Obviously, I'm advertising on a political candidate. So that means that the reach of the videos are getting out to a much wider group than were previously. So the comments are extremely negative. Is publicity, any publicity at the end of the day, good publicity? Or are these negative comments actually going to have a negative impact, do you think, on people's opinions?
I'm going to give you a quick tip.
Yeah.
You have to send a signal to Facebook. So essentially, because those people are engaging, essentially Facebook's like, "Hey, engagement, find more people like these. The video is doing well. They're watching it and they're engaging it." But you have not given Facebook any signal that that's the type of engagement that you're not looking for. So we actually find if you hide the comments, first of all, it doesn't provide the social proof to other assholes to be an asshole. Only the person who posted that comment and you can see it. So if they go back to the post, it doesn't look like whoever actually hid that comment. They can still see the comment, but nobody else can. So they can have their own little rant in their own little bubble. Let them live their best life. But if you hide the comments, especially from a direct advert, you're signaling to Facebook, this is not the type of engagement I want. But more importantly, you're removing the social proof of that occurring. So it's like, shite attracts shite. It's good attracts good. If you have lots of nice comments on it, you're not going to be the one asshole who comes in and says something shit. Well, you could be, but you're less likely to do so. The negativity will compound if you leave it there.
You're so right, because like as soon as I'm seeing it, and I'm like, it's one particular post that has got and now it's like da 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 da, and I actually can't keep up with all of them. It's just one more thing. Are you saying to hide all comments, or go into each of those negative comments and just hide them?
Hide the negative ones, yeah, okay. Or. Unless they can come back with a really good like rebuttal point where it's like, well, like you don't want the comments to turn into a debate and from a political perspective, but like if it was a product and someone said something negative, then I'd be like, reply, because you get the opportunity to discuss your case against that. But like you'll turn that into a debate if you do it on a political campaign. I would be reluctant to do so. I'd hide, but don't delete. Don't let these people think that they're not taking their concerns seriously, that that you're diminishing their point, but it will compound if you don't hide it, at least.
Very few of them are articulated points that actually relate. Like most of them are just blanket I don't know, like about nothing really. About like someone said to me the other day that a lot of people feel like politicians are standing in the way of a utopian universe where the roads work well and all the things and it's the politicians that are in the way, where it's like it's the politicians who are trying to kind of, I don't know, it's fascinating. I'm learning so much like about this stuff that I never thought I'd learn.
You know what though, Judie, I'm not seeing anybody saying have an open conversation with me. I'm not seeing anybody, a lot of people are telling people what they want to do, but no one's saying, to me anyway, I'm not seeing anybody say, what do you want?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's almost like the data side, Judie, where I was like, retrospectively create the video based on this, and this. They go to the demographical data, they go to the census, they go to the information, they go look at the geographical breakdown, they look at the Cambridge Analytica style data, and I shouldn't say that because that's not what they're using or that process at all. But that style of demographical data and making the assumption of that demographic's biggest pain point, like Jan, that's why obviously you received family stuff in your family estate. Yeah. But it's they very rarely get the source of the information and then pivot back to the problem. John, it's funny because I've had political parties come to me and ask me to do their marketing, and I've always said no, but because I did my undergrad in government and politics, I actually really interested in it. And then I also have my master's degree in marketing. Part of me someday is like, fuck it, I'd love to do like a blowout political campaign, but just don't know what could bite you. Like, I just don't know. I think
when I go for mayor, when I go for mayor, you can do my political party campaign.
Oh yeah, we'll all do it, Jay. We're your team.
You be my social media team. Shan be my PR team.
Yeah. And do you know what? The first thing I say as well, I'm getting everybody's knocking on my front door. No one's knocking on my business door. And
I thought you were going to say your back.
I was just saying, Shan, why are they on your back door?
You were going to do another Judie on it.
No, but no one's knocking on the door where my bricks and mortar businesses, because none of them are talking to small business. And I'm really noticing it. I'm like, how many times have I got to open my front door? And then when I'm in work down in Elite Pilates, no one is coming to talk to us because no one is telling me what they can do for small business, and it's about bloody time.
Well,
anyway,
now that I'm living in the middle of nowhere, not one person has knocked on my door yet.
Yeah, well, and if they did, they'd probably put something about pensions in or something. I don't know. Like,
you know
what I mean? They just like it's
I will support your farm.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was the other side of the card that he left in with me, was about farming, and I was like, I'm a long way away from like farming here, but yeah, no, small. I just want to know what they're going to do for small business. It's a disgrace in this country. So That's all I'm interested in at the moment. So anybody wants my vote, that's what you got to talk to me about.
Vote for Jay.
Okay. Yeah, why don't just do you know what? Wouldn't it be lovely to see like someone cool in as a mayor of Cork? It would be brilliant.
They just get ripped apart, though, wouldn't they? Did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're going to find out. I feel like this podcast is our little springboard to Jay's political career.
Absolutely.
Did you ever see that film Man of the Year with Robin Williams? The same kind of idea where he has a talk show. He was like a Jimmy Fallon kind of type character, and he goes, "I'll run for president," messing around, and then it just caught on fire, and it rolled and rolled, and he actually got voted in as president. It's a good movie. It's a funny comedy. Like Christopher Walken's his campaign manager. It's definitely worth the watch.
Do you ever hear the original story of why Donald Trump, like the initial spark?
Yes.
This could be rumor, like I don't know if it's true, but essentially he found out that Gwen Stefani, who was on a TV show at the same time as him, was getting paid more. And when it came down to it, they were like, well, she's more relevant. So he tried to improve his relevance by creating this idea that he was going to go for presidency. And then after, I think it was like the second talk, he was like, oh shit, there's something to this, and went for it. So Gwen Stefani could be blamed for it.
Yeah. I heard that in a pod the other day, actually. I heard that in another podcast the other day.
Where did I hear? I think it might have been Jimmy Carr said it.
Yeah, it was Jimmy Carr, actually.
Jimmy
and actually,
Carr, yeah.
That's what brought me back to Stephen Bartlett. Jimmy Carr's interview with Stephen Bartlett, Jen, out of this world, isn't it?
Oh,
I want to listen to that.
I have such a funny story about Jimmy Carr. So years ago, I asked someone on a date, first date, and I had 2 tickets to Jimmy Carr. I said, do you want to go to Jimmy Carr? It'd be a great night. And they said, yeah, great. And it was only just as we sat down, I said, have you heard Jimmy Carr before? Like, do you like his comedy? Like, I just assumed when you said yes that you knew who he was. And no, never actually heard any of his stuff. And I was like,
oh, shit.
And then I was like, what kind of comedians do you like? She's like, oh, Joe, I hate really crass. Like, I don't like, anything that really hits on, like he's controversial. Like, she started like slicing through all the things he was definitely going to bring up. And then, oh my God, the opening line then was just, I could see her face drop. I was like, this is a terrible idea. But it was a really good show.
And she never
I
told you
Your Face or Mine. Sorry. Do you remember that show, Your Face or Mine? It used to be on when we were younger, and he'd like, that was ruthless. Like, he'd get the guy's girlfriend's mother and his own mother and say who's better looking, and then the audience judges, and like, so you can't lie. Like, oh God, I used to just love that show. It was bad.
I had a similar thing to that, Jen. I was, is it Mickey Flannery, the singer?
Oh yeah,
But I thought it was Michael Flannery, who, the English comedian Out.
Yeah.
So I thought I was getting tickets to a great comedy show. Instead, I was.
And you got a very slow acoustic jam.
Yeah, well, actually, got rid of the tickets. Got better things to be doing with my time than depress myself. Although he's lovely, but just not my gig.
Just not your vibe.
Yeah, very disappointed though. I like a good comedy. Actually, I'm going to the Comedy Store in the Everyman this Friday. They are touring.
Do they announce who's playing?
They have announced this. Do you know what? I don't know, but they have announced. They announced last week. So that's on this Friday at the Everyman. Can't beat a bit of good comedy. Listen,
well, if we all love a bit of comedy, we'll have to book a nice unbranded night out.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Maybe
we should all do stand up.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe we'll get a comedian on. And talk about their social media. Oh my God, can we get Jason Byrne on? He's my favourite. That'd be amazing. Actually, do you know who'd be amazing to come on? Is Cork up north. Do you know him, Andrew?
No.
He has a brilliant podcast. I'm doing I'm on the road an awful lot these days, guys. I am discovering great podcasts. But yeah, Cork up north. Andrew, I can't remember his surname, but he's amazing. He's on 2 podcasts, I think, but he's brilliant. He'd be great to get on here. Or maybe, do you know what? We can have amazing guests on here. We just need some sponsorship. So if you're thinking of sponsoring this podcast, then please do get in contact with any of us, DM us or send us an email. You can find us all on our LinkedIn and on our social media, which is Unbranded, our lovely little Instagram page run by Aoife. Thank you so much, Aoife. So don't forget, like, follow, subscribe. It really helps us. And we can't Can't wait till next week now. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.